Hi there and welcome to Fuzzy on the Details. My name is Fuzzy and today we are breaking down the latest developer update on marvel.com/RPG. And there is so much to share with you guys, including a little insider information I got from the guys at Marvel that you will not find anywhere else. The Spider-Verse hype dial is officially cranked to 11 and we have got a ton of supporting content lined up for the next couple of months, so if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a pretty good time to hit that button and make sure you've got notifications turned on. Lots of exciting things in the works for you. Here's everything that was shared with us in that update. I will break down each section in this video, and in about a week I will have a full review on the channel, to be followed, of course, by lots of deep dives. As always, I will prioritize those videos based on what you want to see, so if there's anything in this table of contents that you are particularly excited about, let me know, and I will prioritize the sections that get the most comments. Let's get into the details. If you're familiar with the X-Men expansion, you will notice that the table of contents is divided up in a similar way. But instead of starting off with guidance on how to roleplay members of different teams, like X-Force or X-Factor, we will be learning about how to play in the worlds, or neighborhoods, of different major Spider characters. We've got Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, Miguel O'Hara, and then there's a section for other characters. Of note, we've got one section called Supporting Cast in each chapter, and it looks like that's the largest section for each. That's pretty cool, and a good indication that this wasn't treated as a pure rinse and repeat of the previous expansion. Now these first 9 chapters, which cover the history and how to play these groups of heroes, it takes up 102 pages. In the X-Men expansion it was 128 pages, not counting the free Excalibur download. Also, it looks like we'll be getting 5 new maps in this section from Brian Patterson. It looks like we've got 51 pages of new rules from Matt Forbeck, which is more than we got in the X-Men, which clocked in at 43, and that was a pretty dense 43 pages. What stands out to me here is the number of tables, which I think were pretty well received in both the X-Men expansion and the Deadpool adventure, so I'm excited to see what's in those tables. And we've got a 6th map squeezed in here as well. I like that the sewer layer and the New York City alley map from the previous slide both sound like maps that could be used in just about any campaign, not just one set in the Spider-Verse. You might notice a couple of sections here like Henchmen and the Ultimate Fantastic Initiative rule that were featured in previous Tony's workshops. And I think that's further evidence that the rules we'll be getting won't all be purely Spider-Verse themed, which again is a nice carryover from the X-Men expansion. And finally, we've got 99 pages of characters versus 70 in the X-Men expansion. So I don't know about you guys, but more rules and more characters is a pretty winning combination for me. Although I am excited about reading those early chapters because I'm not super well versed on the Spider-Verse characters, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot in those opening chapters. I'm also really excited to see that there are new authors getting involved as well, and I'm eager to see what they contribute. So basically, it appears as though, looking at these table of contents, that they're sticking to formula with this expansion, which is great news because the X-Men expansion is one of my favorite gaming books of all time. So this has got me even more excited about the Avengers expansion and whatever follows, because I can almost imagine what the table of contents will look like, just seeing the consistency we got between the last expansion and this one. The next section of the dev update covers Sinister Plots, which will be a karma-like mechanic for villains, allowing them to do a variety of evil effects during a fight that we'll learn about in a week. But it's mentioned here that a team of baddies like the Sinister Six could pool their points for extra effects in a combat. I'll be sure to dig into this system in a future video as soon as the book is formally released, but I know a lot of folks have homebrewed similar systems and have looked for ways to give antagonists an extra little edge in combat. So once again, it looks like Marvel has listened to the feedback from the community, and I can hear narrators across the land cackling with glee, waiting for these rules to be available in a week. The next paragraph deals with personal responsibilities. Not a ton of detail here, but the concept of losing karma is an interesting one that makes a lot of sense to me. If you've read a single Spider-Man comic, you know that no matter what the universe, if you're a friend or a family member of a Spider character, you're eventually going to be put in harm's way. So, some rules that bring that vibe to the game is a really great way to distinguish a Spider-Verse campaign from any other regular MMORPG game. Continuing the karma theme, we've got bad karma, which is for characters with the weird trait, which alone is a very interesting mechanic. Of course, we've got regular karma, which requires the heroic tag. We just talked about Sinister Plots that requires the villainous tag. And now we've got bad karma needing the weird trait. It's a pretty cool way to make characters of different origins and backgrounds feel distinct at the table. This mechanic sounds like it'll let you go into kind of a karma debt and give you bad luck temporarily. I'm eager to see the full rules for this one. One important note though, there are lots of non-Spider-Verse characters that have the weird trait, including all members of the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Scarlet Witch, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. So just another example of how you can get value out of this book even if you aren't planning on running a Spider-Verse campaign. The next section is on symbiotes. So there's going to be some new rules regarding symbiotes in the game, including how to bond with existing symbiotes, how to roleplay one, new origins, and how to remove a symbiote. Here's the little snippet they gave us in the article, and this looks like something you might take in addition to the existing symbiote origin from the core rulebook to recreate a known symbiote. Again, really interested to learn further details on this. Next up, stunts, and this is the section I am most excited to read about. The Spider-Verse expansion will be giving us a variety of new stunts, which are described as a way to grant an additional special effect for a power, which a character can apply when they get a fantastic success. So, for example, if a character has mastered the Spider Strike power, we're not sure what that means yet, they can learn how to double the affected targets with a fantastic success. Now, while the details about how to learn these stunts are yet to be revealed, potentially every power in the game could be amped up by learning a stunt, rather than having to learn a whole new power in the game. This is just a great way to make characters feel completely unique without having to invest in unnecessary powers. Now, before we move on to characters, this is where I want to talk about those insights I got from Marvel, all of which are related to stunts, and they've given me permission to share this. So, 1. If you're an old-timer like me and you've played the original 1980s version of the game, and you were wondering if the stunts from that system were an inspiration for this incarnation, you would be correct. Obviously, this is not an exact port over, but the Marvel guys did say they liked the name and they wanted to reuse it. 2. While Marvel is not at liberty to discuss specifics at this point, there will be functionality related to stunts in Demiplane. Hopefully, we will see what that looks like in just 1 week, but I've got every reason to be super excited about the Demiplane support we're going to be getting for this book. I've heard rumors, y'all, and I think you're going to be happy. And lastly, and this is the most exciting for me, when you look at the power sets and powers that are already in the game, we've got most of our bases covered, right? So that means the team isn't going to be focusing a lot on making new powers for the game, but rather focusing on stunts in the future. So Spider-Verse is unique in that most of the stunts are going to be based around web powers, but for a book like the Avengers expansion, there's going to be a ton of really fun, unique, and cool things that we can do with power stunts in the future. So there's lots to be excited about stunts, not just for this book, but sounds like for many to come. Finally, let's look at the 3 characters they've included in this dev update, starting with Spider-Man Peter Parker Early Days. To start, once again, I love that we're getting different looks at the same character throughout their career as heroes. You'll notice his occupation is a student here, which is different in the core rulebook where he is a journalist. Also, this incarnation has the young and the obligation school tag, which he doesn't in the core rulebook. So role-playing him is going to have a slightly different feel beyond just the rank difference and the power differential. Oh, and one other thing worth pointing out, there are 4 little words that are easy to pass up here. Art by Steve Ditko. I love that we've got some art from the classic era that kind of matches up with the profile. Chef's kiss. Now, on to Rec Rap. This is a character I know absolutely nothing about, so I'm going to need some help in the comments here from the Spider-Man fans to tell me if this is a profile you think is spot on or not. What I can tell you, though, is that there is a trait here called the Symbiotic Spider Blinder trait that is not yet in the game, so that's going to be something we'll learn about in about a week. If you've got any guesses as to what that trait does, let me know. And finally, we've got the Lizard. I'm also reproducing Spider-Punk here just in case there are folks that didn't realize his profile was available as a free preview on Amazon.com. I think both he and the Lizard are pretty straightforward builds, nothing really new in terms of abilities or traits or powers here. Spider-Punk gives you a spider hero that uses a blunt melee weapon, similar to how Silk from the CRB uses the sharp melee weapon power set. Lizard has got some smarts to go along with his maxed out melee ability, so that mitigates a weakness that many big brute characters tend to have. Well, true believers, that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this sneak peek, really would appreciate you hitting that like button, and remember, stay tuned for lots more Spider-Verse content in the weeks to come. Big thanks to Marvel for being super cool and getting me early access to the book, so that means I will have my review available on the day of release, and then following that, I'll have a series of deep dives to follow. Thanks again, guys, and have a great day.